All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unicorn Connector Show, where we talk about relationships, revenue, and referrals. Today is a special episode because we have Michael Gray, the co founder and chief creative unicorn of Unicorn Universe, on the show. And it's exceptionally special because it's our birthday week. Tomorrow marks the second year of Unicorn Universe being in existence, and I'm just thrilled about all the things we've done over such a short period of time. Michael Gray has been instrumental to that growth and the vision behind Unicorn Universe, behind connectors, behind people, not projects, and so many other important things that have created this company into being such a magical experience that it is. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Michael Gray, Chief Creative Unicorn, co-founder of Unicorn Universe, super connector, unicorn connector. I could go on and on. He's a branding wizard. And yeah, Michael, welcome to the show. And please feel free to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. I'm a creative connector. That's what I do. I am a creative. I've been at that for over moving into 30 years. And I've done everything from being a designer to being a chief creative officer to being owners of my own companies and everything that goes along with that. But the thing that I noticed as I, move forward in that career is that I really enjoyed connecting with people. I really enjoyed creating and leveraging relationships for the companies that I work for, and then also for just my friends and other people that I would meet. So yeah, I think I mostly identify as a creative connector.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And when we were creating the company and everyone was coming up with their titles and all that, you of course being the branding wizard, I've called you branding genius, branding wizard, branding extraordinaire. It just made sense that you being the creative unicorn is perfect because it's not only just branding and creating things visually, but personally, right? I mean, you've created some of the most interesting partnerships and connections between people that have really changed people's lives, right? And I mean, and we talk about people, not projects, and the way that you focus on people is just exceptional, in my opinion. So today's episode, there really wasn't a whole lot of prep because I wanted to go at this naturally, as Mike and I really haven't done a one-on-one conversation about his experiences as a connector, some of the things that he's done, outside of what I'm aware of. And so I just thought it'd be fun to do it this way. And it just had to be him on as the guest for today's show. Um, so, Mike, I would love to know, when we talk about connectors, I want to know kind of what that initial point was that you realized you were a connector.
Wow. Again, I mean, it's funny because it's always been a part of my DNA. I think the thing that I would like to talk about is the moment when I identified that I was a connector, because I think I've always been a connector. I think
Yeah.
it even comes all the way back to my time with my grandmother and what the times I spent with her and her telling me about stories, how she would let people into her home and help everybody in the neighborhood, like during the depression, and really be there for other people. And so I just love that idea, the idea that that I could do something outside of myself, right? But I think the moment that I really realized I was a connector was when I read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point. I realized at that moment that he had identified who I was really, and where I could really operate the best and most magically. And again, I can probably do all three of the things that Malcolm Gladwell talks about. I'm a maven, I'm a salesperson, and I'm a connector because I've owned my own businesses. But again, the thing that really, I think really, really got me excited was when I realized that definition of connector. That's me, right? That
Yeah.
that gave me, a clear path and really empowered me to do what I do. You know.
Right. Yeah. So, what was it about the definition of a connector that you really resonated with?
Yeah, I think it's the idea of bringing, two different people together, creating and leveraging relationships on both sides and creating a win. Everyone always talks about a win-win-win-win. I believe in a win, like we win together. If there's a win and a win, then sometimes that's not balanced, and so I try to create that balance, for the people that are looking for it, and not everybody is willing to do that, right? So that's another part of what I do, is like trying to, really understand really what, people's motivations are, and making sure that the motivations align.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And when we were creating the Unicorn DNA, I know that coming from a place of honest and ethical intentions was a core part that aligns, very well with that. And, it's so easy to get tied up in the monetary aspect of connecting, but you can do a disservice if you do that when you can really create a ton of value when you take that out of the equation and make connections that are really beneficial for people, right? Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, what we've talked about, and we've really tried to make it sort of a tenet in who we are and what we do, is that we try to do that first. We try to create a value for somebody first, and from that comes trust, and comes, the wanting to reciprocate, right? So don't always, wait for somebody to connect you or do something for them. Reach out to them and try to do something for you.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So, and what are some of the things that maybe you'll do to support people and add value as you're looking to deepen that relationship?
I mean, the first thing is to just become their friend. Just know that you're there for them personally and professionally. Those are the relationships that really create real connection, real stickiness, right? If you're just doing it for a business reason, that that has some validity, and that can be all that there is, right? But if
Right.
there's an opportunity to create a friendship, when you become a friend, you create trust, and trust is one of the most important binding agents to connection.
Trust is one of the most important binding agents to connection. I mean, write that quote down. I love it. Well, and that to me it sounds like it ties really well into the hashtag that you introduced to me. I mean, it's not like this mind blowing thing, but applying it and just really living it is kind of can be, right? And that hashtag I'm talking about is people, not projects, right? I'm sure you could tell where I was going with that.
Mhm.
Where did that come from, Mike? That people, not projects phrase that you say all the time.
Honestly, I don't really know. Um, I sometimes I say it really came from God, because I think it's God centric, in the sense that, it's really about helping the human being, the person, more than it is about making the money, or doing the project, and that's what project is, right? Project is the monetary piece, the piece that everybody, has wants to have fun and work on, a project together. um, and if you don't have that relationship, it's not fun to work on projects with people you don't like. So for me right now, and especially, just turned 55, my life is definitely half over if I'm lucky. And so I really, want to make sure I'm working with people I like. If there's somebody, that's in my periphery that, is just, creating potential issues, and it's more work than I need. I just don't need that in my life right now. So I'd rather find the people that I enjoy working with, like yourself, Daniel, and everybody in the unicorn universe. We just have some amazing people, and there's amazing people outside the unicorn universe, of course, too. But just finding people that are like-minded, that really have that abundance mindset. I think that those are the people that are really resonating with me right now, and also people that, want to do something beyond themselves. They want to help others. They want to, you know, change the world, right? We always talk about that, but it might sound like a cliche, but we still got to do it.
Yeah. Right. And I mean there are so many different ways to do it, and just bringing people together who have a similar mission is such a great way. And so when we talk about the unicorn universe community, which I've absolutely grown to just love it. And I think from the beginning we would always say, "Oh, you're a unicorn," or "You're not," right? And I felt
Hmm.
like until we really defined what that meant, and it really just comes down to being a good person. It was kind of this fun thing, but now it's like very specific, right? And we've just built such an amazing community of people that, we are surrounding ourselves and doing business with the right people. And I think that's super important for connectors too,
Yeah.
right? What are some of the things? So tell me, how do you know, like, and it's probably a silly question, but when you're talking with somebody, how do you know at what point that, oh, you're a unicorn? Like, at what point are you like, oh, you're the right person that I want to be talking with? Is there anything that kind of gives it away, or I don't know? Tell me about that.
I mean, the biggest thing is flow, right? Like when you're in a conversation with somebody and you just feel like you can finish each other's sentences. That, I've had that with you. I've had that with Nathan Bailey, my partner over at Humminbird. There's, plenty of other people that I've had that with too. And people in our community that, when I met them for the first time, I was just like, wow. I said, our definition of a unicorn is this. It's not about the financial piece, although, I full well expect us to have billionaires in our group at some point. But it's not about that. It's about what we define a unicorn to be, and the idea that this mythical beast is something that's very unique and hard to find. Right. That's really the more of the definition.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. And we definitely will get to that point, right, where we have billion-dollar valued companies in our portfolio in our community, and that doesn't mean they've become a unicorn, right?
Oh,
So it's kind of funny, and I'm sure people ask you like they ask me, how many unicorn companies are you working with? All of them.
zero.
Depends on how you want to answer it, right?
Yeah, depending
Um,
on what you mean by that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Right, right. So I
Often,
just love it.
often that's their definition, right? They're looking at the monetary piece. But
Yeah,
I look at some of our people and I say, wow, these people, they're far more a unicorn than these other companies because of what they're doing, how they're just selflessly going out there and really doing things that are making a difference, right?
right. Well, and when we talk about potential, right? I When we were first creating this company, the idea wasn't only that it's tied to the personality, but that we believe that anybody can create a unicorn company as long as they have the right people and resources and system to do that, right?
Yep.
So we've been,
Leverage is huge,
yep,
right? That's that's one of my words for this year is leverage.
yep,
And I've heard my partner say that quite a lot. Like he says it a lot in our business, but we really leverage relationships. Like I can give you examples that are things that are happening like right now where we're able to leverage some of the things we're doing and help others, but they're helping us too, and that's just a beautiful thing.
yeah, 100%. So I mean, as far as leverage is concerned, and some people will hear it weird when you talk about leveraging relationships, right?
Yeah.
How would you expand on you know ways to and why you would leverage relationships, and maybe if you have any experiences doing that, expand on those.
I mean, the thing is, why wouldn't you? So you have, an opportunity over here, you can use those resources, right, that are out there, and that, quite frankly, people are waiting for somebody like you to use, right? And that only helps give them exposure, right? And if you think in an abundance mindset, you understand that if I'm bringing, all this into the party, and then I'm going to partake at this party, we're going to have a great party together, right? So I think that, that's what leverage is about. It's not in a negative sense. I think people can be negative about that and say it's negative, but I think it's all positive, as long
Right.
as people understand that the leverage is reciprocal, it's abundant. If you have that mindset, then there's literally nobody or anybody you can't, work with and find and, leverage.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will kind of misinterpret the phrase leveraging relationships as taking advantage of relationships, right? But the way I see it is when you do, that can create exponential growth for those people that are involved in that, right? Where one plus one can equal a billion, right? So
mhm.
so I'm curious, and that's one of the other things you like to say is that phrase one plus one equals a billion, right? So I would love to know. So you mentioned you're working on some things now. Do you have any like favorite stories or current projects that you're working on where you are leveraging relationships, be it through partnerships or personal relationships or anything like that that you want to expand on?
Well, I guess my Jackie Chan story is just, the my one of my more fun stories. A lot of people know it, but I went to a networking group, and I sat next to a gentleman who has become one of my dear friends from Taiwan. And he told me that, hey, I know Jackie Chan, and I got all excited. I was like, oh, Jackie Chan, he's like one of my favorite people in the world. I want to meet Jackie Chan. Like, what project can I work on with Jackie Chan? So I was just thinking project, right? And
Right.
so, and that went nowhere fast, right? Like, my friend was like, yeah, everybody wants to work with Jackie Chan. Like, he's one of the biggest guys in the world, right? And in Asia, he's like the biggest. And so, time went on, and what ended up happening is, and this is another example of, you know, doing, helping connect and helping provide value first. I introduced him to a good friend of mine who happened to be my pastor, and David and Eric got together and they did some magic. They worked on a kids project together. My pastor has since passed away. He's one of the most, important people in my life. He was a mentor and a friend. But he had time with David, and they went to China and they did stuff in the Philippines and all a bunch of different things. And so I brought serious joy to him before his passing. And so for me, like, that was the cake, right? That was awesome. That was such a great cake. The icing on the cake was, um, I got to know David better, and we came back around. And before I know it, like, I was doing this art show with Jackie Chan, and I was in China and Shanghai with Jackie at his house and his restaurant, and all sorts of amazing experiences. And so, that took a while to transpire, though. That was like, 3-year period, right?
Right.
And so initially I went in with that project mindset of, oh, I got to do this project. That's all it is. And even I want, oh, why aren't I a part of the project that they're working on? Right. Um, and at point, I have to be honest, I got a little jealous. I was just like, because if you have that mindset, you're like, why aren't I involved in that? I should be involved in that. Like, I'm the genesis point for that, right? Which
Right.
often, I would think about. But then, as I mentioned, like, things came back around, and before I knew it, I was doing all this awesome stuff. But more importantly, I made a really lifelong friend in David, and his wife Melissa. And I look forward to doing new projects. We're working on a project called I Show Life with them, which is a massive project, looking to bring that e-commerce platform here, streaming e-commerce platform here to the U.S. And so here you go, right? We started with this like very limiting mindset of, oh, I got to work with Jackie Chan, and that would have been cool, right, if it would have happened, right? But it didn't, and so many other awesome things happened, right, through that whole process that I couldn't even have thought would happen, right? And some of the most important blessings that happened were for my friend, right? That the later, parts of his life, he was able to do some things that were on his bucket list. And so, to be a part of that process and to look at it and, look back on it, like I feel really blessed having, being a part of that, right? And to this day, like I said, I'm working on projects with David and Melissa right now. So that that's the most important thing to me, Daniel. If I can, you know, do a project, but I can find a friend, and you know, I met some people through our Unicorn Universe, vehicle by leveraging what we have that they become my friends, right?
Right.
Like and what's better than having a friend, another friend. So
100%. And so you and I both fully intend on seeing this all the way through and it
mhm.
just going, right? I have no intentions of selling the company, right? But the
Yeah.
thing about it is that things happen, right? And sometimes business doesn't work out. And
Mhm.
that's the end of it, right? And the business is over. But what is not, as long as you do it right, are the relationships you establish
Mhm.
through it, right? So I'm with you. I've met some incredible people through the events, through, our own events, other people's events,
Mhm.
introductions, those connections through you. You and I came together through a mutual connection who I think in a way was our golden connection in different times of our
Yeah.
lives, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and I love it. When we talk about golden connections, we're talking about that single connection that could change your life for the better, right? Be it personally,
Mhm.
professionally, whatever it might be. Um, and so, earlier today you were telling me that your golden connections are connectors who are all over the world that want to connect you to other people, right?
Mhm.
So, tell me tell me a little bit more about the kind of people that you would want to be connected with, that those connectors would connect you to. The more connectors?
Yeah, I mean, connectors, man, like people, but not just connectors like, that have a very small network, but that have a very large network so that we can get to more people, so that we can create more opportunity, more leverage, more certificates of appreciation for everybody to help feed their families and feed them and their friends.
Yeah.
That's really the goal. But again, it's not it's called the Unicorn Universe and not the Unicorn City because we want this to be big, right? And so when people talk about us and they think about who we are, they think about us in a very grand scale, and that's what I want them to think because that's what I want to do. And there's no
Right.
reason why the world the world has gotten smaller, not bigger. So we're all coming together, we're all communicating more than ever. And because of that, we can leverage the world and not just our next door neighbor, not just our city, not just, our region, not just, the United States, but we can leverage the world. And because of that, we have more leverage, more power, more ability to think in an exponential mindset, right? That's another one of my big words for this year is exponential, because we always talk about uh, you know the scarcity versus the other mentality, right? And so let's say exponential, right?
Hmm.
And I want and we can't be exponential if we're thinking about just our hometown, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
we want to think beyond that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, without going too far into it, you know, I think that we, over time, and this company will influence a multi-planetary
Hmm.
universe, right?
Yeah.
So, it's not
Yeah.
far off,
Like
right? And
Cassidy would tell you we are. So
yeah, yeah, 100%. Like I said, don't want to go too far down that one, especially
yeah,
because I wanted to kind of talk about why we started this. Because you brought up certificates of appreciation, you brought up
yeah,
leverage, you brought up exponential opportunities, all such keywords to what we're doing at Unicorn Universe creating exponential opportunities for entrepreneurs, inventors, disruptors, innovators, people like that, right? So I want to
Mhm.
tap into the connection, specifically the connector part of this, right? And get from you, because we came together as a group to figure out a way to create a system of abundance, right? Where somebody can make connections and get paid. So I'm curious if there were any experiences in the past that happened that really drove the passion that you have for Unicorn Universe to make it so important to you to keep this going so that we can continue to build something that is so beneficial for connectors. Is there any specific scenario or story that happened in the past that has you driven in such a way?
Oh, there's so many. I would say more in a general sense, right? Like I don't want to get into specifics. I don't like calling people out or any of that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But I would say like, early on as a connector, somebody who's very trying to act in more of a selfless manner, I would create opportunities for people, whether it's getting somebody on their board, bringing the, two people together and saying, hey, you guys could be, really good friends, but you also, really can, have a lot of synergy in business. And, in some cases, people actually came to me and said, hey, do you know so and so, or do you know somebody like this? And inevitably I did, and I would connect people. And that the certificates of appreciation thing is that comes from probably Nathan Bailey would probably give somebody else credit for it, but I always hear him say it. And so he's my partner over at Humminbird. And the certificates of appreciation thing is about really appreciating the people that are connecting you and that are doing things for you, because the genesis point is the most important point in a relationship. And if you don't have the genesis point, you don't have a relationship. And so when somebody brings two people together, that is the genesis point of the success, right? It also
Right.
can be the genesis point of the failure, right? But that's between those two people. The connector is just trying to do what's right in his mind or her mind, right? And so that genesis point is critical. And so if I don't do that, and others don't do that, and other connectors don't, or other budding connectors don't do that, because they feel like, hey, I'm not being appreciated for what I've done, then we're getting in the way of progress and
Mm-hmm.
opportunity and exponential, opportunity. And that's not good. And so we developed the Unicorn Universe and, really our economy based on the fact that, we want to appreciate people for making that Genesis connection, right?
Right.
And that's very important to me, because it did happen to me too many times to count, where I would do that and I would be lucky. And I often say, and somebody who, if they do listen to this, they'll know what I'm saying when I say they would give me, an Olive Garden gift certificate, for endless, pasta and, breadsticks when I was, a young kid, trying to make my way and trying to feed my family. Um, and and at the time I'd be like, oh, cool, okay, good. But then realizing later on that I've made them hundreds of thousands, if not millions, or tens of millions, or hundreds of millions of dollars. So
Right.
just by creating that genesis point, right? And it's
Right.
not to be like, oh shoot, like, woe was me. It's to be like, fool me once, fool me twice, you're not going to fool me three times. And I don't want you to fool anyone else, right? Like, I really want to make sure that are young connectors. And I want to shout out Aubrey, right? Like
Yeah.
Aubrey, somebody who came into our community and just has just embraced what we do, right? And
Right.
and I want her to be appreciated for what she's doing, because she's changing, the scope of what we're doing. And so why shouldn't she be, rewarded for that, right?
Right. Right. 100%. Well, and Aubrey's just taken it and run with it. And I think the way we designed this has made it just so easy to do that because, you know, some of those situations that you've run into where you weren't taken care of, I'd believe are largely because that how to be taken care of conversation didn't happen
That's right.
in advance, right? So we've had, I don't know how many hundreds of conversations with companies that are now partners of ours who
Yeah.
you don't have to have those conversations with because we've had them. It's figured out. And now, anytime revenue is made, connectors get paid. It's beautiful. I love it. And the goal is really, like you're saying, to align people that have that purpose driven mission to make a positive impact. And when we talk about our mission statement, to foster a community of unicorns creating joy, it just aligns so well with the dream that you said that you've got, which is to help the helpers, right? And
Yes.
and so I love that that's a dream of yours. And I've actually had people in the past, close people, give me some grief over wanting to help the helpers, and like that's some pipe dream. But I know that it's not, you know. So I'm
Mm.
curious, like where that came from, and if you have any stories about where you've done something that has helped someone who's helped somebody else.
Yeah. So, I, I love, kids. I love working with kids. I love, working with the homeless. I love working in the human condition, right? Helping the people that, need a leg up. They need help. There's other people out there that, yeah, sure, they could use some help, right? But there's a difference between people that desperately need help, right? And other people. And so, there's a lot of different, love the military. I love to support the veterans and things like that, right? But the help the helpers thing came from the fact that I did a lot, right? Like, and I would go out of the way and do whatever I could, and even make a donation that I didn't have, right? Because I was just like, man, I gotta help these people. I gotta help this veteran community or this homeless situation. I gotta dive in and do something, right? But then what I quickly realized, and the same thing why I say what I say about connectors, why I want to connect with connectors, and some people are kind of surprised by that. They're like, well, don't you have very specific things that you want to, you want, and those are your golden connections? And the answer is yes, I do. I have a whole subset of stuff, right, that's going on, particularly in our community right now, of things that people need right now, right?
Right.
But also things personally that'll help our business and help our business thrive. But the reason why I say, connect to the connectors is because that's an exponential mindset. If I
Right.
if I try to do it all, if I'm the connector, I can only connect to so many people, right? But what I quickly realized as I started connecting with other connectors and becoming parts of groups kind of like this, that um, I was able to get to more people quicker through those people because those people know the right people, right?
Right.
And so the same goes for the helpers, right? So if we're gonna, there are people every day dedicated to doing amazing things. Elizabeth Gallagher is a great example. She
Yeah.
has the City of Impact out in Las Vegas. Well, Elizabeth is just, tirelessly working hard to bring in different relationships and to get her projects done. And she's working on some amazing projects now. Um, but yeah, sure, I could go off and I could create what Elizabeth's creating here in, Arizona, and it would take a long time. It would be very hard to do, and even with her tutelage, or I can leverage what she's already done and take care of her and make sure that I'm bringing the right people to her, so that's supporting the work she's already doing, which is phenomenal in Las Vegas, right?
Right.
And so she has the relationships, she has the experience, she has all that stuff. So rather than me like putting my $100 into something and then dedicating my time jumping in, and I always want people to do that. Like, I think it's a great experience for everybody to do. I feel I'm now at the level where I'd much rather bring a huge relationship to her, and I can kind of throw out some examples of that, but where where now she's able to leverage that, and that is able to grow and do the things that she needs to do and help the people that she wants to help. And
Yeah.
so it's that exponential mindset that we're talking about. And so I think, just like the connection thing, I feel like at some point I just realized, yeah, I don't have time to do all these things. And some of the people that do it, like Andre Robinson, he's amazing, right? And Andre, who's done just amazing things with Power of One in California, how he's fed over 3 million people, and just does just tireless, amazing work over there. Well,
Right.
he's in it. He's doing it every day.
Yep.
He is mission driven. This is what he's doing, right?
Right.
I can't compete with that, right? No matter what I do. And nor should I. I should just support him, right? So that's what I really am saying when I say help the helpers. I'm saying support those people.
Yeah. Well, and when we talk about helping the helpers and connecting with connectors and going exponential, that it all kind of ties into the other dream that you have, which, myself and anybody involved with Unicorn has, which is to find people, ambassadors who are super connectors that want to drive even more connections, right? Because we're both driven by a purpose to make a positive impact in the world. And the faster we can do that, and the more lives we can reach, the quicker we can make a greater positive impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it all just ties really well together. And, so tell me, like, somebody who would become an ambassador of Unicorn Universe, like, how could you see them supporting some of the other businesses that are within our universe, like, Elizabeth Gallagher, for example?
Yeah, I mean, those are the things. Like, I mean, that's a perfect example of thinking exponential. So, if there's an ambassador in another city like Dallas or New York or New Jersey, where I'm from, and they are sold out for what we're doing with Unicorn Universe. They want to help the helpers like we do, and they decide, okay, well, I want to set up a city of impact in my city, right? And so that's a great example of how we can, use the ambassadors really to kind of ignite, the people of their area
Yeah.
to do some of these things, because we can't we I'm here in Arizona. I don't have the relationships. I don't have the leverage that potentially they have in that city,
Right.
just by the fact that they're a part of its DNA, right?
100%. Speaking of, if you're watching this, please feel free to state where you are at and if you would have any interest in being an ambassador in your area, because we will connect and we'll make that happen, right? And those are the kind of things that we'll do that together we can make the unbelievable achievable. And you'll experience a lot of really fun times with us, 100%. Um, so in today's show, it's very, it's special because it's our birthday week. We do have a special deal going on for our community, which we'll get to. But I wanted to ask you, Mike, because personally, I never expected to have so much fun building a company, connecting with all of these people. The connection events that we do on Fridays are just so magical. I mean, I think my favorite question to hear people answer, oh, and you don't even know this, is what is something magical that happened recently? It's like
Yeah.
a tap into like fun and excitement and gratitude and magic, right? I mean, there's probably more to it in unicorns. And so I actually have this jar, and I wrote a little post-it on it that says, "Write something magical that happened recently." So I kind of have started just doing that, but it's just become so much fun. But I'm curious, like from you, because I'm not going to give my answer. What has been like either something that you've really grown to enjoy about our company, our community, and just like if there are any experiences you've had that have really just helped you, I don't know, like love it as much as I do, because I know that you do. We're both having so much fun with it. So, um, terrible question. Basically, what I'm asking is, why do you love it so much?
I mean, I love to connect, And so what the cool, I'm like a kid on Christmas morning when there's a new person online and we're meeting them and we're trying to create value for them. And when we see that magic happen, it's like oxytocin's going off in your head. You're just, that's why Friday is just such a great day for us, is because that's when we allow other people from the outside come and check out what we're doing. And when you see that magic happen between people and you just see the smile on their face and the joy that they get from it and the lasting relationships, some of the things, like I think about Pace and Nova, how they've just become, I mean, Pace didn't come in with the intention of starting a company with Nova, but that's what happens when you get really into people's story and understand who they are and what they're about, and you have similar passions, and then you realize, wow, we're really in alignment. Like, this other thing I'm doing over here is no longer important. Like, I want to go do this with you,
Yeah.
And I experienced that with Nathan, Nathan Bailey, and I'm working, with him with Humminbird, and now Matt Thompson, and now another guy, Eric, that I've, starting to work with. And, you just get excited because that you're mission driven, your vision and values align. You want to do things that are significant. And when you feel that alignment, man, it's powerful, and it's addicting. It's
Right.
very addicting. I mean, I will not miss a Friday if I can avoid it. Like, it's not like I'm looking for excuses to not be on a 2-hour call. Like, I want
Right.
to be there. In fact, I even talked to you about, let's extend it out a little bit more, because it just seems like we're just in flow and then everybody's got to go. And that's usually the way that it works, right, in these events and stuff, is that just when everybody really gets going and excited, it's like, oh, it's over. Everyone's got to go home. And if there's no connection at that moment, that magic doesn't happen. It's fleeting. It's gone.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So, with that, and our community members don't even know this because we're still structuring that into the equation, but we're doing like a bonus half hour after our connection calls to keep things in flow, where we've segmented off that couple hours, but if it makes sense for us to extend, we're going to keep it going so we can make those connections happen and deepen the relationships, right? So it doesn't fleet. Because how many times you love it, you hit it off, it's great, you exchange info, and you don't talk for another week, and then nothing happens, right?
Yep.
And you wonder, what was that even all about, right? So I thought that was great. And you're the one who mentioned that to me, that let's have a bonus session so we can keep people in flow. And that's the thing. I mean, that's what we're about, is providing that value to our community and being flexible and open to new perspectives, right? And so, yeah. So, I love it. I love that answer. I have seen some really incredible, magical things. I love the whole flying over time collaboration that's going on. There are others too. We've got people in that are putting people on magazines and TV and radio, and it's just crazy.
On helping the helpers, Carol Farabee, what Carol's doing, with all the grant writing stuff, right? Helping the nonprofits,
Right.
That, that's amazing, because, we're able to support her and what she does. And as a result, other people have come on board and worked on her team. And some of our, our community members have helped finance that. Right. So there's just really, great synergy that happens when you have that mindset.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. I love this comment. Look how much fun Jolene has. She just
That
shouted us
is
out.
our
Happy
unicorn content fairy, getting it out there every
birthday.
icon you can.
Yeah. All the magical unicorn universe related emojis all in one. Jolene is amazing. Jolene, thank you so much for everything that you do. Yeah. So, all right. Well, Mike, so unfortunately, we don't have as much time as we usually do, but we should kind of wrap this up with some of the things that we've got going on. We have some awesome events coming up. We have our connection event on Friday, Pot of Gold event tomorrow morning, which is we don't even talk about, but talk about connections. Golden connections are like taking that to the next level. Um, but so for anybody watching this, we do have our community membership that we are actively building, and it's really focused on just providing value and magical connections that do change people's lives, right? And so we're doing a special deal for our birthday. Turning 2, we're 10xing your discount and giving people 20% off our typical membership. So if you go to FTR, stands for Finding the Rainbow, so ftr.unicornuniverse.io, use the code UNIBDAY, that's UNIBDAY, all caps, and you'll get that 20% discount. And, if you want to connect with like-minded people that are abundant thinkers, collaborative, and open to creating new opportunities, that's what our community is all about. And these are the kind of magical things that we do and, bring together and make happen. And, it just gets more and more magical every week. It's like that magic is exponential, right? I love it. So,
yeah, and I want to, really, be clear. It's not us, right? Like we're just a part of it, right? It's really the whole entire community, right? It's the circle. Right. It's not a single point. It's the circle. It's everyone else, right? So we're only as good as our community and the amazing people that we have in it. And we're just so grateful to have them to be a part of what we're doing. And we're here to support them and come in and visit us. Check us out.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I'm not looking to get a sale out of this. I'm looking to connect with connectors and amazing unicorns, right? Who identify with all the things that we've talked about, right? And so, we've got these events coming up. Our members get special invitations to those, our upcoming birthday party, the, VIP Super Bowl event, the recovery brunch. I mean, it goes on, right? And that's where the magic really happens, is at the events, either the virtual or the in-person ones. They're always just so magical. I just can't get enough of it. So yeah.
You asked me like earlier, you said, how do you prefer to connect? I prefer to connect in person.
Right.
Like if someone asks me, hey, you have this opportunity to go on a Zoom, you have this opportunity to, do it through text or email. I hate email. It's like the interaction goes down and down and down, right? So an email, a Zoom is great. In person's best. Zoom is next best, right? Next best is text. Next best is, email. Next worst is email. If the more interaction that you have, the more when you can see somebody's face and you can see their emotion and their excitement and, but also be able to cry with them and be there and support people during their an hour of need, because that happens too. It's life, man. Business is not all success and even, little negatives that happen in your business. It's also life challenges, right? And, some of my best friends that have gone through those life challenges, that's, I wouldn't give those things up, even my own challenges for anything, because, we got through those things together and we're there supporting each other. So that's a huge part of what we do. We're not just about, the professional, we're about the personal too.
100%. Yep. And that's why, we'll make introductions because we think you'd be great friends. My favorite is when I connect people, and I've had somebody say, like, what are the ways you think we can collaborate? Like, have a phone call and laugh together.
Really, or, sing or whatever.
Right. Well, and I like what you were saying just a second ago. A business is not a thing. It's created by a group or an individual, but they're people, right? I don't know any AI that has created a business yet. But
yeah.
Give it some time. And we'll probably have a partnership with them. But But yeah, anyway, so I just think that's really important. Um, so yeah, and then just as far as if people do want to connect with Mike, while meeting in person is great, and you would definitely be able to do that if you did join the community because we do in person events, and you get premium VIP invitations. The other way would be either text or LinkedIn. So he's on LinkedIn. His handle is Sawgrass Shack, and his phone number if you want to text him, which is easily the second best, well, probably the first best way. But you can reach him at 732-766-2239. If you want to connect with easily one of the best connectors that I know, pick his brain, see how we can get you involved in the unicorn community, and work together to make the unbelievable achievable. That's what it's all about. So Mike, we could probably talk all day. Maybe one day we should do like a full
all
just
day.
all day just connector, jam
Yeah,
session.
I think we should do a thing where we're just online and we've got people on there and we're connecting them and we're making opportunities and seeing the magic. Because if
Yeah,
people can see the magic, they're gonna come in droves, man.
right.
Because once you've experienced it, there's no turning back. It's like
Right.
you want more of it.
Right. Well, and that's some of the stuff that we've got on the roadmap for solutions partners, and I'm excited about that. But yeah, I mean, I could see us doing like, even bringing some of the connectors on. Like, I'd love to do just like a collaborative connector show where we've got us and we've got people like Aubrey and any other ambassadors, other connectors who want to come on, talk about their stories. So there are all sorts of things we could do for sure. But yeah, we could definitely go all day. And like I said at the beginning of this, we talked a little bit, but this wasn't rehearsed by any means, and we really could probably talk all day. So I love it.
We
But
do it already.
yeah, exactly. So well, let's wrap this up. Just a reminder, we've got our birthday deal. Again, that's ftr.unicornuniverse.io. Use code UNIBDAY at checkout to get that discount. But Mike, is there anything you want to add to say to the connectors in the world, the people in the world, entrepreneurs, anything you want to throw out there as some extra birthday magic for the world?
Well, I mean, it's something that people say all the time, but really embrace it, and that's be intentional. If you're not going to be intentional about things, you're not going to get the results. So make sure that you're intentional, that you're not just providing lip service to what your goals are and your things are. Dive in, and allow other people, leverage other people in that intention.
Right.
If you don't let people know what you're doing, they don't know what you're doing. You got to be in it to win it.
100%. Which is why we call out golden connections and dreams, because putting it out there is like the first step of it. So I love that.
Mhm.
Intentionality. Well, thank you, Mike. I have really enjoyed this. We definitely need to do some more co hosting, and I think that would be a lot of fun. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much again for being here, for being a great partner, for supporting myself in personal ways, professional ways, and just being a great friend, too. And not to just me, but all the community members. And I'm so grateful to be working with you. And couldn't ask for any better super magical unicorn creative connector as yourself to
I
be
have to
working with.
say that, like, when we talk about testimonies, I think yours is one of the greatest because when I first met you, you were a pretty quiet person. I don't think that you would have said that you're the unicorn 10x connector by any stretch of the imagination. And so you've developed into an amazing magical monster in terms of connection. And so I'm really proud of what you've done. And I know that, hey, we're headed off to Cancun to make some other next level connections this week
That's
because
right.
we experienced a little flow and you're willing to go. So if somebody says flow, flow with them.
Yeah, 100%. That right there is a magical tip for anybody to follow. Well, and thank you, because this company has helped me in so many different ways. It has changed my life for the better, and I believe and I know that it will for so many other people. So I'm excited about
Yeah.
that. And I'm excited for Cancun. So you can be jealous about that as we wrap it up. And thank you all once again for being here. Mike, you're amazing. I'm so grateful. And thank you for sharing some of your wisdom. By all means, please connect with us, unicornuniverse.io. Subscribe and follow the Unicorn Connector Show. And make some magic. Have an awesome rest of the week. And let's make the unbelievable achievable.